Okay, so what have we been doing so far? We've had this four-step process to help us build our GUIs, and we've been working off of those four steps. And the steps were, the first one was to create the controls. And today we're going to add another type of control. Okay, this time we're going to add button, and then the second part of the class we're going to add another control called text field. So as of right now, the only control we really had was a label, and we played around a little bit with putting images in. But now we're going to do the button one, which was the second of the three that we talked about from the very start, and then a text field. Now, the button is a little bit interesting, okay? And, I have my notes here. My handwriting is what it is. But the button is a rectangular control, and it's one where we can actually put a caption on it, like click me or calculate or start or whatever we want. And when we instantiate the object, in this case, I'm calling it my button, from the class button, we have a way to put that label on it. Okay, we can put the caption right on the button. The caption I want to use is called click me. Now, when we get ready to work with the button, we have to bring in this idea of an event, because an event is occurring when I click the button. So once I create this button control, there's a couple of things I have to do to get it ready so that it becomes interactive with the program. When the user clicks it, it knows what to do, how to jump around. Okay, but in action, we're going to see a bunch of different actions as we go through. But like it says, it's something that happens while the program is running, like clicking a button, like moving a mouse. Okay, that's an event. Clicking your mouse, that's an event. And we're going to look at some of those later down the road. But an event is the program sitting in front of me and I want to make something happen. And the event that we're looking at is the clicking the button. So if I have my program set up with an event, I need to be able to handle the event. So when I click the button, a new object is now going to be created as part of what we call the event handler. So when this new object gets created, what do I do with it? Well, I need to finally register my event so it knows what to do with that object when I handle the event from when it's clicked. Ha! I should make somebody repeat what I just said. See if they could do that. Probably could. I would think so. So what do we got? We got to register an event. Okay. And again, once you have the event written, and go. So you did this in your code listing 1011, and let's see if we can pull that up. Let's see if I can pull that up and go to code listing 11, and we're going to start to take a look at some lines that's going on here. If I could actually, I don't know if I have the annotate. There it is. Come on, go up there once. Annotate. Is there a highlighter, spotlight, eraser, a mouse, a format? I don't know. I could draw lines if I wanted to, but anyhow, I'm gonna get rid of that. Oh, there it is. And I'm going to come in, and again, running through quick. Line 1, we've been using that over and over and over, okay? Because we know we need to extend that application. We don't really know what that means, but extending the application allows me to have the method called launch. So in my main, all I do is say, hey, launch, because I know that's a method written in something called application that's tucked away from me. I know I need to have the stage because I want to add my scenes to it. I have my layout. Again, we're going back to VBox for this one. We have VBox, HBox, and grid pane. I'm going to look at my controls. I have a label, and now I have a button. Okay, we have the geometry. Now, 2 new things, lines 8 and line 9. We have something called event handler class, and we have the action event class. So when I'm going to start working with buttons and clicking the buttons and all of that, I need to have these two classes imported. All right, so we come in and we know that here's my main and cha-cha-cha. I go to my main. When I launch args, it hits start and I'm kind of ready to go. So if I was annotating, I'd say, okay, my first grouping was to create my controls. Here's my button. There's my label. Now I need to register the button. And I have this my button dot set on action new button clicker handler. Well, that's a parameter, right? That's what's actually an argument. That's an argument that is going to pass over to a parameter, but I'm passing an object. And if you remember a little while ago, I said about we do this and we create a new object. So I'm creating this object called button click handler. Now, if I'm creating an object of button click handler, where's the class? Well, if I come down to the bottom, you see I have actually what's called an inner class. It's a class inside. And this class is going to, again, I don't really know what implement means. I don't know what extend means, but all that's coming up. So for now, I just played the syntax game and typed the syntax. I come in and there's a method called handler that I'm overriding. We've used that terminology already, overriding, okay? A little bit, but not much. And what's this going to do? It's going to say, okay, so when that button gets clicked, I'm going to handle it down here. And the way I handle it is I'm going to change the label, my label dot set text to thanks for clicking the button. Coming back up again. My first step was create my controls, line 30 and 33. When I create a button, I have to register it. When I register it and click the set on action, when something happens, when an event occurs, I'm going to instantiate another object from an inner class. All right, so the rest of what I have going on is my VBox. I set the size of the scene. I want to center it. Once all that's done, I add it to the scene, which was my third step. And my fourth step was to put it on the stage and show the stage. So when you type this in, did you have any questions on registering this event? Now, eventually, what's going to happen down here inside of this button click handler is lots of good stuff, not just thanks for clicking the button. Good stuff's going to happen. We're going to have calculations. We're going to be doing this back to the screen, all kinds of different things. In fact, line 61 is button click handler. Well, that's if I only have one button. What if I had multiple buttons inside of a GUI for my program? Well, then I could have multiple button click handlers. Okay, I'd give them different names. One might be button 1 click handler, and the other one might be button 2 click handler. And I'd write these inner classes to go along with it.
Yeah, Professor, I did have a quick question on mine.
Good, because I was tired of talking. What do you got?
I wrote it exactly how the book said, and I had the lowercase a and e in the button click handler header.
Okay.
It was actually giving me an error, but as soon as I
Okay.
capitalized the A and the E, it worked. So
Excellent. Good point. Different versions of Dev C++. Something to keep an eye on. Again, capital A, capital E inside of here. Uh-oh. Somebody's posting comments in the chat room. I can't get to the chat from here.
Yeah, I had the same thing.
Okay.
I had to capitalize, yeah.
Good. Everybody else okay with that? All right. Then I'm going to keep moving on. Now that I'm here, I could check the chat. And is that what the chat was all about? It said I had the same thing, then handed the trigger and buttons was clicked in Roblox games. Huh. Someone's at the door, someone's knocking on the door. Okay, as I mentioned, the third control that we're going to be using, doesn't Roblox use a luau? Oh, I was at a luau once. Anybody else ever been to a luau? No? It's cool. All right. The third control that we're going to put on is one called text field. Okay? Text field can be a place for me to input. Text field can be a place for me to display something if I want. But if I take a look at the text field, once again, I'm instantiating an object. I don't know why there's an equals there. An object called my text field. It's from the text field class. The text field can be blank, or I could put a string in here to give it a default value. And then I can change it if I want. And if any of you have ever had Visual Basic, you know about setting them and defaults, and we can make them editable. We could lock it down so it's not editable, which I don't know why you would want to do that, but there are a lot of ways that we can manipulate this text field. Big important method that's going to go along with this object, my text field. My text field dot get text. So when a user types into that text field and I want to get the value, I get it and store it in a string. Where am I going to be doing this? Probably in that inner class. When I handle the event, I'm going to be grabbing that information, be able to use it to manipulate it. So if I get ready and go back to sharing my screen, and I'm sharing my screen, and I take a look at code listing 12, we come in. Again, I'm just running through these because then they become secondhand nature. Application, check. Stage and scene, check. Ooh, I have an H box and a V box going on here. Something good must be happening. Some stuff from geometry that I'm going to use. I have one label, one text field, one button. Okay, I also included the event handler in the action event class. I come in, I have some fields, and boom. All right, so I come down into my start. I create a label, enter a distance in kilometers. I have a kilometer text field. I have a button to calculate. So I just created 3 controls. Now in line 43, I am registering my event with the calc button handler again. My calc button is going to be linked to calc button handler. All right. Again, if I come down here, this time I'm bringing in the value when the button happens from kilo text field. I'm doing a computation. We all know that 10 kilometers is 6.2 miles. And then I'm going to result label, set my label to what the calculation should be. Working from the bottom, those last 2, lines 67 and 70 on my stage. What's going on? Remember I said I had a V box and an H box. Well, I have an H box where I'm going to put my label and my text field. In the V box, check out what the first thing is in the V box. It's what that horizontal box was. Then I'm going to have a calc button. Then I'm going to have another label. So my first area, my first scene in my V box is going to be the 2 things from my H box. They're going to be on a line together. Then calc button is on the next line, then result labels on the final line. And with a little luck, this will work, unless this version needs me to change that A and the E. And it does, capital A, Capital A, capital E. Look at me, sorry. My Broadway days. Oh, Nathan, did I ever tell you about my days on Broadway? No, yeah, no, I was never on. Well, I did walk down Broadway once. That's about it. So let's see, I'm running this with a little luck. It's gonna work. It's gonna work. It's really fast. Must be the snow. It has everything frozen up. It is about to work, folks. Anybody else ever on Broadway? When it snows in New York City, where in the heck do they go with that snow? Okay, so everybody, can you see the GUI on my screen?
No.
No. Did you run it on your screen and see the GUI?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I have that first H box I declared that had enter a distance in kilometers, and then it had a text field. Okay. Then I added that to the V box. So that's the first thing in the V box. The second thing is the convert. And the third thing is the label that we can't see right now that's going to appear. So if I enter a distance in kilometers of 10, I click convert. Now all of a sudden I have that new label appearing of the 6.21 miles. Questions? All right, you heard enough of me talking. It's time for you to now play to make sure you know what's going on. So I have this V box with three things: the H box, the convert, and the 6.21. I'd like you to now change your V box to have 6 things. Okay, so I need to close that GUI. So actually, I didn't want to. So just a moment ago, oh, how's that for a perfect rectangle? We had our statement, we had a label, we had our text field, we had our button, and then we had one more label that appeared after I clicked on it. It almost looks like a face of somebody smiling. This guy, it said, please enter the number of miles, correct? Please enter the number of miles. We typed in something like 10. We clicked on it and it displayed the number of kilometers. Well, what I'd like you to add is 3 more pieces to our V box. I want you to add another H box. This time it's going to say, please enter the number of kilometers. I'd like you to add another text field. I'd like you to add another button. And then finally, there would be another label here that if I entered kilometers, it would tell me how miles it is. Or do I have that backwards? This one wanted kilometers and converted to miles, right? This time I want you to enter the miles and have it convert to kilometers.